We're here today in Galena, Kansas. What's the name of this museum, the
This
exact
is
name?
the Galena Mining and Historical Museum.
Galena Mining and Historical Museum. It's January 3rd, beautiful day, a little chilly, but sunny, nice. And Linda's going to show us around. And your name is Linda?
Linda Phipps.
Linda Phipps, okay.
Yep. Lifelong resident here in Galena.
Uh-huh.
And you're standing in the old MKT, or the Katy Railroad Depot, which actually was located about a half a mile north on North Main Street.
Oh, so it was moved down here to the highway.
It was moved here in 1984 to become our museum. Otherwise, the building probably would have been demolished, which would have been very sad to lose this beautiful old building. So 84, it became our museum. And it was just these 3 rooms, and they very quickly realized they needed to build on, and so they've made 2 additions to the museum.
I see. So this is the old building, and the other parts of the museum are built on site here. Then they weren't historical buildings.
Right, but these 3 rooms were the original depot.
Oh, all 3 of these rooms, right on through that window there. You can see the other rooms. Okay.
Right.
All righty. And I see you have all your benefactors here. Is that what this is?
Many of them, many of them, yes.
Okay. And there's your nice T-shirt. Good. Oh, that's nice.
That's what it looked like originally, before we added on.
Great. All right.
Okay.
Good.
So shall we walk on through?
Sure. Come on.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here.
All right. This the first room was the ticket office, where train passengers would buy their tickets. They would buy them at this window, and then they'd go out the door to get on the train. Of course, again, this building was moved here, so there were never train tracks on on this portion of Route 66.
But where it sat, the tracks were right outside the window behind me here.
Right there.
Okay.
So this room was really the office, or the working area, where the station master would have gotten his telegraph messages. They did sort mail here, or at least get the mail bags and take them to the post office, that kind of thing. Of course, all their bookkeeping and that kind of thing was done in this area as well. So right now we have lots of mining, not only train memorabilia, but mining and that kind of history as well.
The Texas Special.
And MKT, of course, was Missouri, Kansas, and Texas. The line, of course, ran through Oklahoma, but when they named the train company, Oklahoma was not a state at the time, so it was still a territory. So they didn't include Oklahoma in the MKT part, in the Katy Railroad. So.
Okay.
So poor Oklahoma got left out that time. This is still part of the original depot here. Yep.
I've got a little button on here I can push and I get a picture.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking some pictures of different things as we go along.
Good idea. This room would have been the freight room, and you can see the big doors would slide open and they would load and unload freight from this room.
Okay.
But right now, it is our mineral display room, and all of the minerals in this room are from this area, the tri-state mining area. And of course, tri-state includes Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And lots of lead and zinc was pulled out of the ground here. But we have all different kinds of minerals that were pulled up as well.
All right, look at that. I've never been a rock person, but I know a lot of people that just love these rocks.
They do. There are clubs and all over the country, and meetings and all kinds of things.
Well, you've got a nice collection of them here.
I agree. Of course, I may be a little prejudiced, but I think we have one of the nicest collections of tri-state minerals in this area for sure. Of course, we had our train set up for Christmas, but we like it so well, we're going to leave it up for a while. Our little model train.
Well, it's fun. Just having it run around makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Brings out the kid in you.
And that's an old style train too. That's
It
not
is.
one of your modern ones.
No, that's an oldie.
And so this is you've got the rocks and everything, but you've also got it sort of like the shipping department where they put stuff to
We wanted
ship.
it to look, because the building in itself is an antique, we wanted to make it look more like the old depot would have looked.
And old bags too. Old bags, old boxes, old carts.
Of course, at one time, anything that people needed, groceries, and would be shipped in. And so a lot of things, not just mining materials, would come in and out through this building, but their groceries and their supplies and their tools and their whatever they needed.
Well, you know, you see by the size of this room, the quantities were not what we're used to seeing now.
True.
Everything, a truckload would hold more than this.
Right. But things came quickly, and they would come and go very quickly too. So.
Yeah. Oh, sure. The trains were coming through pretty regular.
Right.
So they didn't dawdle in here.
No. So.
Well, there's a rock collection for you right there. Now, if you want to know about rocks, there it is.
And we've tried to identify and label everything that we have.
Uh-huh.
Which
Beautiful.
took lots and lots of time.
I could learn a lot about rocks right there. Good.
Now the paintings were done by a local woman named Carol Riley. She has passed away now, but her paintings, these paintings that we have in the museum, were actually on display at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. The geology department there did a display on tri-state mining, and her paintings were, of course, of the mines in this area. So they were on display for about 10 years there.
So these are mainly lead and zinc mines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because up our area, of course, we mine coal. Up that way, up
Yes.
in the north part of Cherokee County.
Yes. Which, interestingly enough, they worked hand in hand, because a lot of early days especially, we had to have coal to run the trains, but also to run the mining machinery as well. So.
And to smelt the zinc.
Right.
And people wonder why they had the zinc smelters up in Weir is the first ones, and then later in Pittsburgh,
Right.
and they had like 14 of them.
Right.
But they went there because it took 3 tons of coal to smelt 1 ton of zinc.
Yeah.
And so it was cheaper to move the zinc than to move the coal down here.
Exactly. Before that happened, before the smelters were there, they would stockpile the zinc here. So we had huge piles of zinc. The lead was smelted here, but the zinc was not. It had to be either trained to the smelter, or in the early days, horse and wagon. That little display talks about the early day energy of mines, which was mules and manpower, and then as the time went on, we finally got to electric power.
Well, these are very nice. Now, these weren't all painted by the same woman, were they?
No. But we have many more in the other room as well.
Let me get a picture of this one here.
That picture's crooked.
Now, this looks like more her style here again, is it? No?
But those were done by a different person, but those are local landmarks in the area. Those were done by Betty Barnett, and she is a Galena lady.
Okay. Great. Oh, and here's a couple more by the door here.
Oh
I might
yeah,
as well
and we have
show 'em
lots.
all.
We have lots of them in the other room as well. I don't know if you want to show all of them.
Keep us busy anyway, huh?
Yeah.
Well, those are very nice.
Yes.
Really very nice.
Some of our fun train memorabilia, we have railroad dining chimes. And
Very
on the
nice.
old dining cars, that when dinner was ready or when the meal was ready, they would ring the chimes and the passengers would know that they could come and have their meals. So I think it probably
Oh,
went over.
come on, play it again.
Oh, again?
I like that. They have a really nice sound.
A nice tone.
Really, really
We
nice.
love to show that off because it's fun.
Yeah. And you keep the donger up there high so maybe the kids can't reach it.
Yeah. You've got it. You've got it. But anyway, lots of mining memorabilia, lots of history here. Kind
look
of
at
a
this here.
progression of lighting for the mines. They started out with candles, and then they went to the oil lamps, and then of course carbide lanterns, and then eventually the
Now these up here in the
battery.
top, you think these are oil lamps here?
Well, they used
Oil wick. Yeah.
Yeah, they used what was it called? Sunshine oil, but it wasn't really an oil. It was a kind of waxy substance. I can't explain exactly what it was, but and we have bicycle carbide lamps, and the bicycle carbide lamps were really the beginning of the miners' carbide lamps. They liked that idea so well that then they went with the carbide lanterns, which fit right on their hats or helmets. So they
Okay.
walked around with an open flame on their head into mines that possibly could have pockets of gas. So, and then eventually they carried battery packs on their belts,
Okay. Yeah.
and I think they probably still have some of those these
Something
days.
like that. Yeah. The batteries are probably smaller now.
I would think so.
Oh, there's a nice painting. Look at that.
Yes. Thomas Hart Benton painted, I think this is a replica of this in Joplin in their city hall. I don't know if they preserved that when they moved it or not, but I'm sure they did. Thomas Hart Benton was a pretty famous artist, of course. We have, let me get out of your shot so you can.
No, you are the shot.
Oh, no, you're in trouble. We have a little bit of everything. In this room, mining again, we have lots of minerals, and then Carol Riley's paintings again over there.
What's this thing here?
This was for, I'm told it was used for mug shots, but also I know ID badges in factories would use this. But if you had robbed a bank and got caught, then you would stand here, and of course a prisoner is assigned a prisoner number.
Oh, and this is the spot. Really.
And they would be given the number, and they'd stand here and get their mugshot taken. Of course, the camera would be where you're standing, and those light bulbs are not authentic, I'm afraid. But it was a pretty fancy gadget, and it would adjust by according to height. If they were tall, let's see, or short, it would go up and down. The knobs would change the numbers here. And that says caught on 55, but you're on Route 66. Somebody switched it. So you're caught. So
On
I'd be
Route
happy to
66.
take your mugshot. You can even put on a prisoner's uniform.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
We'll take your mugshot. You can put that on your next Christmas card.
There's some wanted posters.
Yeah. Of course, the Daltons and the Daltons especially were known to be around this area because they got around, those Daltons. The James gang, the Daltons had planned on robbing a bank here, but word got around that they were coming, so they put extra guards. So they went to Baxter Springs and robbed that bank instead.
Take what they give you, I guess.
That's right.
Oh, there's some nice group photos of them miners.
We have many, many of those. Sadly, though, very few names that went with them. So we have lots of photographs, but not a lot of names to identify. And we took close-up pictures of these types of photographs and enlarged them. So those are some of the faces of the mines up on the wall. So.
Okay, here's a little model, some models here.
They're pretty authentic, actually. I mean, they went to every detail, and this one, he actually tried to copy the photograph there to show a full working mine. They had the mine, they also had their own little smelter or processing, you know, they'd take it in and process it there, so. And it's nice to have when we have school children because it's hard to explain what a mining camp might look like. And so we can show them this and show them basically what it might look like many years ago.
No, it's wonderful for everyone because we have lived in a society that that's nice and tidy. Everything works,
Right.
Well, that's because the guys that were here before made it work.
Exactly.
But they didn't start off with it working. They made it. And it's good to be reminded that what we have here without the work of those people is not much.
That's true. That's true. We need to be thankful for those that came before us.
That's right.
We have dental tools there. And back in the day, they used anything and everything they could. If you'll notice, this gadget right there is an old hubcap off of a Model T, and they used that to pulverize the metal that would go into the teeth. And actually, it was lead.
It was a little crusher thing. Okay.
So.
And that's the hubcap off of Model T.
Yeah. Both of those two little things are hubcaps.
Well, isn't that nice? All right, yeah.
So I'm sure they sterilized it, hopefully, before they ground it up and put it in your fillings. But of course, they used lead in fillings for a long time until they decided that wasn't probably a very good thing to do.
What do they say? When you know better, you do better. Oh, here's a nice cart.
Yes, we call that the doctor's buggy because doctors used to make house calls. And during the horse and buggy days, they'd often use horse and buggies. And that picture is one of our doctors. I think it was Dr. Brown. Let me look and see. I hate to tell you something that's not. Oh, Dr. Jones. We had a Dr. Jones and a Dr. Brown.
Okay, now I come around here. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Wow, there's a bunch of Zippo lighters. All right, mostly Zippos there?
There are a lot of Zippos there, but they're not all Zippos. But everything in that case is a cigarette lighter. There's a hand grenade and there's a...
Even the top shelf is also lighters too.
Yeah, everything is a lighter in there. That was collected by a gentleman named Ernie McCorkle. And he was our fire truck driver for many years here in Galena with our fire department. And I always thought that was amusing that he would collect fire starting utensils.
When he was a fireman.
When he was a fireman, but maybe, on slow days he'd go out and start a fire. Who knows?
No, let's not.
Job security.
Oh my.
No, I'm teasing. I'm sure he never started a fire. But I know they put out a lot of fires. We have
And he was what now?
He was the fire truck driver, and he was one of the few paid employees because our fire department's volunteer. So he was one of the few paid.
Cigarette boxes. So these are common collections, lighters
Oh,
and
yeah.
cigarette
Oh,
boxes.
yeah. This was a match machine, and you could, it was kind of like an early time slot machine, though. You'd put your money in, and, well, you could light your cigarette here, back when people used to smoke. But you'd pull this, and it would spin the dice, and if you got a certain, I don't know, lucky 7 or something, then you'd get your matches free. So otherwise it would cost you a nickel or a penny or something for your matches.
It's got dice in there.
Yeah, yeah, it would.
3 dice.
This would spin, and if you got a certain number, and I don't know all
You got
the,
something, huh?
yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but
There's a flag case,
lots
some
of,
rifles,
yes. So
rifle and sword.
we have memorabilia from Civil War all the way up to current times.
Okay.
And you would think after all those years they'd figure out how to stop having war, but we haven't figured that one out yet. And everything in here has a story. It's just so fun to be here. Of course, we're all volunteers, so every volunteer that comes down has something that really they favor and they want to show off.
Oh, these are tools that were used on this buggy.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Fun story. The people that owned it, their parents had courted or dated in this buggy. So, so I like to think to see the horse riding up to the lady's house, and of course he didn't have a horn, so I bet he had to go out and knock on the door.
Oh, that wouldn't have been right. You can't honk. You got to go up and present yourself.
That's right. That's right. So I liked that story a lot about courting in the buggy.
Got a lot of military uniforms, Navy,
We do.
and there's Chief's uniform, and first class. I know the Navy ones, but I don't know all the ranks in the others.
Yeah.
Well, there's an old helmet there. That looks like a World War I thing.
It's got a dent in it. I don't know if that's. And actually, after the war, the miners here always wore cloth hats until the war, and they came home with their army helmets and decided that was a much safer thing to use.
There's a DD-214 they call them now. I don't know if that's what that's called.
That's what that is.
I have one of those. And a Purple Heart there. All right.
We have this gentleman, Paul Wade, was our first Navy person, or the first soldier in Galena that we lost in the World War II, and he went down with his ship. And that letter right above his picture is signed by Franklin Roosevelt, expressing his gratitude
I'll try
for
and get
his
it without the
service.
light
I
glaring
know.
on it.
I can turn out lights if you need me to.
No, I think we're okay. We don't like to show them everything. We want them to come down here and see for themselves.
Absolutely, we
Just
do.
pique their interest a little bit, that's
Absolutely.
all.
And we're open on Monday through Friday, 1 to 4, or by appointment. And you can look on our Facebook page for phone numbers and things. So we'll come down on it. Usually I live 5 miles away, so if someone calls, I can run down and open up for them. So.
This is one of the things I remember from my first visit here. This is a fancy looking hearse. Horse-drawn hearse with glass, with windows and all ornate and fancy.
It is beautiful. This hearse, when they went to motorized, sort of like we do old cars now, this hearse was pushed out into a pasture, if I understand the story correctly, and it was just left to decay. The Durfelt family purchased it and had it restored, and it's been down here for a long time for people to enjoy.
I wonder what, if it's got a maker on it. You know, Fisher was making bodies before cars. They were making carriages.
Mm-hmm.
And
You know, I've never noticed a tag or any.
Sort of
anything on
a
it, so
trademark or some sort
Right.
of model.
It would be fun to kind of research that and find out, though.
And oh, we have some old movies you play in here.
Yes. That's an old movie of Galena. That one was about 1931, but as you watch this film, it goes back in time, and we know that because the cars get older and older, or younger and younger.
And then, no, it's just modern developments. You've got movie cameras, TV cameras, and these are from but they're from some of the TV stations here.
These two cameras were from KOAM Channel 7, Pittsburgh, and that was their first black and white camera, and then the color camera.
Oh, okay.
And they look a little different now, I think. Because you're carrying around a camera in your pocket, so.
Yeah, they do use these too. So here's your cars. You have
Yes. We have a 1930 Ford Model A in the middle there, and that was donated by Mr. Edstrom, who actually was born here. Family passed away, and so he grew up in this area. Then as he grew up, he joined the Navy, and after the Navy, he started a business and made his fortune, and then started collecting and redoing old Model A's. But this one is all original. It's never been painted. The upholstery inside is original, and it looks brand new. So this car
is unique.
Had been well taken care of. When he passed, he had left this car to us, to the museum. As long as the museum is open and running, we can keep this car. If it doesn't, then it goes to the Model A museum I think it's in Michigan. I'm not sure where it is, but
Wonderful.
But hopefully we'll stay open for a long, long time.
And what's this one there?
This
1919.
is 1919 Model T, and all three of these cars are in running condition, but this one we take out in our parade. So it was just out for, let's see, the Christmas parade, and it's always out for Galena days, and
So
usually the parade marshal will ride in the 1919.
Yeah, isn't that nice? I always like to look at the dash.
I know. A little simpler.
Yeah, a lot less.
And of course, the gas pedal isn't a pedal, it's up on the steering column. So you would give it gas.
Throttle.
Yeah, the throttle.
Uh-huh. And did they have that spark advance on them?
I don't know what that means.
Well, they had another one, and I
Oh, yeah, that kind of.
adjust the spark. If you get going too
Exactly.
fast, they're automatic now. It's all computerized now. But even when I was a kid, they had the distributor, and they had the thing that did all that automatically anyway, but it was not like it is now. Now we're solid state.
I guess, until we're not.
Until we're not, that's right. Whatever's next. This is a Model T here, right?
This is an A.
This is a Model A. Okay. And there's the dash on a Model A right there.
And it's actually has pedals and the gas pedal, and when it went to the A's, then they control it by their feet and not by your hand. It's fun. Even I think this was a very nice car because it even has little shades in the back where you can pull down the shades, and
Oh, yeah, you see, I see there. I see, sure. Little thing to pull down the shade. Well, maybe it even had turn signals.
I think it did.
Pretty fancy.
Maybe this way and that way.
Yeah, that's right. Automatic. Got a hand. And then this one over here.
Right. This is, oh golly, what year is it? I have to look. I forget. It's a 1924, two person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this was
And
the
a convertible
sports.
there. It's got the top
Yeah,
rolled back.
this was a sports car, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it again, until the A's came out, again, you adjusted the speed or the gas with up on the column.
Mm-hmm. All right. Take a look around here. And here's a cider press.
Right.
Crush it into.
Right. You crushed them and then.
Then it feeds into a press.
Yep. The cider, the crushed apples would fall into a barrel, and then you'd move it over to the press. We haven't tried it, but I think it probably would still work. All the parts are there, and it still wants to turn. So.
Bunch of models.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, there's one more room up there we haven't got. Of course, there's still a little more in this. This is all about automobiles.
These were the tools they used to work on the Model Ts and the Model As.
Uh-huh.
This.
Jacks.
Yeah.
Is these some of the local gas stations, any of these here?
Mm-hmm. We had lots. We had lots of service stations and car parts areas.
Well, the population of Galena now is much less than it was.
Oh, yeah. At one time, we were almost at 30,000, and now we're almost 3,000. So,
Okay.
But when the mines closed, the jobs went away, and of course, you have to go where the jobs are. So.
And they even went away before, when they went to strip mining. Did they strip mine for zinc, or was it too deep?
No. All of our mines here were shaft mines.
Shaft mines.
Now, up north where your coal was, it was all strip, I think.
Was it not as deep there as it is here?
Well, they mined coal there, which was, I imagine, closer to the surface.
Yeah.
But our mines weren't real deep. I think probably one of our mines probably went to 200 foot down. So we didn't have real deep shaft mining, but.
Yeah, and that is, there are some coal mines that were that deep, but mostly they were like 80 feet was, you know, and even less.
Yeah, when they were strip mining. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, now you've got clothes. Got the fashion of the day.
Yes. We had a sweet lady here donate her grandmother and mother's hats and.
Got your W.C. Fields hat right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I saw there was one more room we didn't go into. It looked like it had some dresses and things in it.
Oh, over on the other side,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, you've got some photographic stuff here. Wow. To me, it's really amazing how fast all this technology changed. All this happened within the last 100 years.
Yes.
And you know, from where we were to where we are,
Yeah. Well,
seems further than that.
when you even think of the changes that have made just in our lifetime, it's pretty incredible with the telephones and the computers and.
Rituals of special services.
And that's
Bylaws of the Order of Elks, Constitution and Statutes, Order of Elks.
And of course, just up the street is the Elks building. It's still there. Beautiful old building.
I wish I could get a better look at those coins for you. It seems to be.
Those were like tokens, and I'm told that you could use them like money at the Elks. And of course, they had a bar there. So if someone wanted to buy you a beer, I guess they could give you a token, and if you didn't want to drink all the beer at the same time.
I found the stores used to have half pennies and pennies.
Right.
And they would give,
They call them bits?
yeah, they'd give people a change. Sometimes they'd give them a store coupon
Yes.
or token.
Yes.
And now, have you got any petroglyphs here?
No.
These are just fossils.
Just fossils.
Okay. Yeah. And the miners would find these when they were digging and different ones.
They sure could. Now,
Yeah.
some of these aren't from this area, but many of them are. Many of them are from this area.
Okay.
Then we had several banks and
All righty. Well, let's take a look at this one other room
All
here,
right.
see what we got in here, and then. Oh, what's all this? This cheesecake here. I remember this.
that was 1940s porn, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty tame by today's standard, but yeah, 1940. That was
course,
pretty
we-
risque.
Had Harry Houdini perform at our opera house here, the Sap Opera House, which burned in 1931. But he, early in his career, he traveled with Dr. Hill's medicine show, and he and his wife were the entertainment, which would bring the people in. But he did come to Galena and performed a seance in the Sap Opera House.
So they'd come in to see Houdini, and what, they'd charge a dime or something?
Usually they would just come up, you know, the old side shows, and then after they'd do a magic act, then Dr. Hill would tell them about his elixir, his wonderful medicine that would cure just about everything. And
Now,
that-
what's this, at the Opera House?
this is the Opera House. It sat right at 7th and Main. If you drive there, the Casey's is there now. But it was a 3-story building. The first floor was a drugstore, the Wheeler's drugstore, and then the top 2 floors were the Opera House. And it was supposed to be very ornate with parquet floors and the fancy velvet curtains. And
Dr. Bill's, huh?
Dr. Hill's.
Dr. Hill's Wonder Tonic.
Uh-huh.
And so he'd get them there. Houdini would bring them in, and he'd sell them the tonic.
That's
That's where
right.
they got their money.
That's right.
Be interested to know what was in that tonic.
I believe there's probably a little alcohol mixed in with something.
Different
Here.
products, ivory flakes. Yes, indeed.
This was wash day. Every week you'd have a wash day. And
These are common products that were on my grandmother's shelf.
Uh-huh.
You know.
that's why I said I feel really old some days, because I remember using some of this stuff. So.
Yep.
And this area reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen. She had all the spices and the stove and the iron on the fire. And
And this is an old gas stove.
the stove was gas. Now the refrigerator was not electric, it was a kerosene or a kerosene stove, kind of like the ones that you would see in campers nowadays, you know, and it's so heavy. We were going to try to move it one time, and 4 guys couldn't move it, so we decided it needed to live right where it was.
Can I help with this?
Absolutely.
Sure. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Yeah, refrigeration is another thing that's advanced tremendously. We all have, this would be a very small refrigerator.
Yeah. Well,
And is this a freezer
that's
compartment?
the freezer right there. So you had room for
For ice
two ice
trays.
trays and maybe some meat. I don't know.
And this here, that's
I
part of
think
the,
just
that's the
part of
works, huh?
Yeah.
And this is where the motor is down here?
Yes, yes, it's all under there.
Oh my. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've seen one like that.
Yeah, it is unique for sure. So, then you could have your barbers.
Well, the name is on that too. That's a Servel? Yes.
Serval.
That's interesting, because I've heard that name,
Yeah.
but I've never seen one of theirs. Of course, the ones I've seen had the gas thing on the top. That's a different kind.
Yeah.
This is older than that, I believe.
I can't tell you the year right off the top of my head, but
A Singer sewing machine,
this is kind
dolls.
of interesting. I had not seen one of these until just recently. This was a puzzle box, but it's also Singer made this with the attachments for the Singer sewing machine.
And this is pretty much how they stacked them in there for you when you bought the machine.
Yep.
If
The
you got
parts-
that part with it,
Yeah, the parts. I don't know if that was extra or not, but
all the works.
I know. I think the box is just so unique. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's
tongue
4
and
parts.
groove and just comes. So
Very nice.
we have old signature quilts and a wedding dress that was, I don't know if we have a year on that or not, but one of our volunteers donated it, and his great-grandmother's, this was his great-grandmother's wedding dress. Of course, it's a little faded now or turned yellow, but I'm sure it was white at some time. The lace on it is hand tatted or tatting, which is almost a lost art anymore too.
Oh, here's a nice spinning wheel. Okay. And some quilts. That's an old piece there.
And someone was here yesterday talking about quilting. Back in the day, they used any kind of scrap they could to make their quilts. And so that one you can tell was some old upholstery pieces and
Here's
odds
another
and
one of
ends.
these chests. I really like them.
Aren't they nice?
That is a nice piece right there. Yeah. Well, we just got to watch Dolly Parton do, what was the name of her dress? Coat of Many Colors.
Oh, yes.
Christmas
And that-
special. Every year now
that's
they're
right.
playing that one.
That's right. That quilt kind of reminds me of that.
That's
too.
right. That's right. That's me too.
And we have our little school area.
Uh-huh.
Kids love to come and write on the chalkboard.
Sure.
We don't have chalkboards anymore.
Well, that's very nice. Oh, and you've got some of the old books, huh?
Yes, yes.
Oh, and you've got the old, this is what the kids had. Each
Yep.
one had their own
Little
little
slate.
chalkboard, little
Yep.
slate, that's right. Study of frogs. Very nice. Oh, there's these football cleats.
Yes. They look like they were well used.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
We're very proud of our volunteer fire department, so there's lots of history on the fire department. But that's one of our old country schools. There you were, the Union Chapel.
Oh yeah, the Union Chapel School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is actually the bell, the school bell off of.
And that school's not there anymore, and the building's
No.
gone.
Yes, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
That was the school bell that would ring in the kids every day.
And every time somebody wanted to be mischievous, they'd ring the bell.
Oh, absolutely.
And then this is, you say, the volunteer fire department stuff.
Right, right.
Oh, look at this thing here. And here's one of the old firefighting equipment here.
And that was pulled by manpower, so. And if it rocks over, the wheels take the weight, and then it's really easy to move, but it's very heavy, that tank.
And these are some of your old fire chiefs, huh?
Yes, yes.
Graham. 1916.
We've had a volunteer fire department almost since the beginning of our city. Our town started back right after the Civil War, and they developed a fire department almost right
This
after
man
that.
was on the fire department from 1937 to 2020? Oh, that's his born
Birth,
and
yeah.
death date.
Yeah. But Mr. Hall was our fire chief for many, many years.
Okay. Well, you got some nice pictures of the fire department. Yeah, that's good. Well, I think that's pretty good. We did pretty good. Here's one of your old the telephones they had, and you've got some too.
We do. When I was really young, we had to pick it up and, turn the handle.
Yeah.
And ours was 2 longs and a short, if that tells you anything.
Well, we're about the same age, I think, and where I was raised, we didn't ever have that because I know that here in the middle of the country, things were a little behind on some of the
They were.
electrification came
Right.
later. Telephones were a little behind. What,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we had party lines and such.
Oh,
but
yes. Oh,
nothing
yes.
so antique as a ringing phone like that. One of those. Well, look at this here. What's it? This must be
This
something.
was a wooden water line. We had about 13 miles of wooden water line in the city at one time. And as the wood would absorb the water, it would swell and tighten up the joints, and so it wouldn't leak, or at least that was the
idea. It didn't leak
the
right away.
idea.
It didn't leak today anyway.
And the wire around it would hold the wood together because the wood would swell so much that they had to hold the wood together. It was pretty much like an old, the whiskey barrels and things that would.
Is this one of your first water towers?
One of the first ones. Don't know the location of that, but I know it was a local.
All right. Well, Linda, I thank you very much. I think we've gone through it now, and I've really enjoyed it. This
Well,
is very
thank you.
nice, and I hope people come and see you.
I hope they do too. We love to have visitors. So.
This will be on my YouTube channel, Easy Dave,
Easy
and thank you very much.
Well,
I think
thank
I'm
you.
going to leave this on and just walk out the front door and show people the outside
All
just a
right.
little bit before I shut it down.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Well, look at that big. Didn't notice that. Look at that bucket. That'll haul some more.
Yes, it was, of course, the ore bucket, but it was also the miners' ride to work in the morning. They'd pile 3 or 4 guys in there at a time and lower them down the shaft. So there was your thrill ride before roller coasters.
We used to call it, that's an e-ticket right there.
All righty. I hope
I
you
didn't
come
see
back
your
again.
name on a sign out here anyway. Is the name not on a sign out here?
Well, it's on our telephone, the light post up there.
Okay.
And
I've got your hours right here.
yep,
And this is in Galena, Kansas. We're on Route 66 here.
yep.
This is 7th Street in Joplin, or 7th, is it 7th Street over here too?
This is 7th Street in Galena.
Yeah, same
Route
as 7th Street in
66.
Joplin. Yeah,
On Route 66. All right.
very nice. Yeah, we're right here in Galena.